Welcome back. Former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says she still supports Chuck Schumer as Senate Minority Leader. That's the good news for Schumer. This after he voted for a Republican bill to avert a government shutdown and got a lot of blowback from Democrats. But here's the bad news for Schumer, at least as far as what Pelosi had to say about those tactics. Let's listen.
I myself don't give away anything for nothing. And I think that's what happened the other day. We could have, in my view, perhaps gotten them to agree to a third way. They may not have agreed to it, but at least the public would have seen they're not agreeing to it. And then they would have been shutting government down.
Jaime Harrison joins me now via Zoom from Columbia, South Carolina. As many of you probably remember, he formerly served as the chairman of the Democratic National Committee. Jaime, it's always good to see you. What Pelosi said was, I myself don't give away anything for nothing. Is that what Senator Schumer and the Democrats who voted with the Republican bill in fact did?
Well, listen, Major, before I was DNC chair, I was the floor director for the House Democrats, and I ran the whip operation for House Majority Whip Jim Clyburn. So I cut my teeth on floor politics, learning at the knee of Nancy Pelosi and Jim Clyburn. And she was speaking the truth there as it relates to what you do when you're negotiating legislation. If Republicans who control the House, the Senate, and the White House, if they need Democratic votes in order to pass legislation, then there has to be Democratic seats at the table to negotiate what those bills look like. And there were no Democrats at the table in the House or the Senate. And so if we're not going to get a seat, you don't need our votes, then pass the legislation, move it forward. But Democrats have to stand up for their constituents and the priorities that they were sent to Washington, D.C. to defend. That's to make sure Social Security, Medicare, and all of these government programs that are necessary for the flourishing of the American people.
You talked about understanding the situation on the floor of the House of Representatives. It appears that Senate Democrats, led by Charles Schumer, assumed incorrectly that House Republicans would not pass the budget bill, the continuing resolution to avert the government shutdown. And when they did, they effectively were strategically flat-footed.
Well, Major, the thing that I say here is, again, ultimately, Republicans control the Senate and the House. And so if they know they want it to be in the majority, they wanted to control the government, well, there are responsibilities for doing so. And if you don't have all the votes yourself in order to get the legislation done, then that means you got to build a coalition in order to do that. And, for Democrats, we got to let Republicans, if they can't do it, let them own all of this mess that they have created. For the last few months, since Donald Trump became president, there's been an unconstitutional attack on the federal government in this country. And that means that the American people have been suffering. We're hearing that the Department of Education that they're trying to gut. We know USAID they have gutted. We see the attacks on veterans right now. They're turning their backs on veterans who have done so much for the American people. And so we got to let the Republicans, we should not have any responsibility of this chaos that has been created by Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and congressional Republicans.
Jaime, Bernie Sanders said that it was an absolute failure of Democratic leadership in the Senate. Senator Adam Schiff, California, said a bad day for the country. Can Chuck Schumer survive this? Should he?
Well, Leader Schumer and the Senate Democrats are going to have to make that determination. But, I disagreed with the strategy here. I just don't think that is where we needed to go right now. The American people want to see that Democrats can stand up and fight for them. They see what is going on. Veterans are looking for people to fight for them. Our kids with disabilities and special needs, those families are looking at what's happening at the Department of Education, and they want somebody to fight for them. Democrats have historically did that. We have to continue to do that. And this was one of those opportunities to stand up and fight for the American people, the people who desperately need us right now, as Donald Trump and Elon Musk and congressional Republicans are attacking the things that they have relied upon for decades, for generations.
Jamie, you're no longer the DNC chairman, so you might have a fresher perspective on this. Is what you just described, the lack of perceived fight, a generational problem for the party?
I don't know if it's a generational problem, but it's definitely a mindset problem. And it's the big problem that we have right now within the Democratic Party. And this is something for 4 years as DNC chair in my internal discussions. I often remark to some folks that we need to fight more. That's part of the reason why we saw that we lost young men's votes in this last elections, because they saw the Democratic Party as weak, as not fighting for them, standing up. And they were attracted to Donald Trump because even if they did not agree with him, they saw that he was willing to fight for the things that he believed in. What the American people need right now from the Democratic Party is for us to fight just as hard, if not harder, for the things we believe in as those things that Donald Trump and Elon Musk are trying to destroy in this country. We have to stand up. We have to fight. We have to draw a line in the sand to say to them, you will not cross. We will fight for the American people and defend those things that they have poured their hearts and their souls and their money into, and that they deserve in order to flourish in our American system, in our economy.
Former DNC chair Jaime Harrison, always a pleasure, sir. Thanks.